Hi, and welcome to another Survivor Reborn podcast. I'm your host AJ, and today I'm joined by Lori and Matt, who recently played the jungle gameplay demo from Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Alright, so we're at the jungle. What did you guys think of this area here?
I mean, I loved it because it was just so atmospheric. I mean, I've recently watched, I'm going to be controversial here, I recently watched a playthrough of Uncharted 4 and with like the jungle foliage and everything, and to see this, I think just shows like how they've really nailed it with the foliage and the atmosphere and just how dark and murky it looked. And I think it really is a good way of what's the word? Just showing the mood of the game. I think in terms of just how murky and dark and just eerie it all was. So yeah, I think they've done a fantastic job with that.
See, I'm kind of shocked. There's a lot of fog going on. There's a lot of side effects going on. Did you notice any frame rate dips when you were playing?
I'm not really good at spotting that sort of stuff, but I didn't notice anything.
No, it was remarkably smooth. There were a few anti-aliasing issues, but I hope I pronounced that right. I'm not a techie person, but it's yeah, graphically it was very, very smooth.
As you can see here, we're going through the difficulties, and it looks like the player tailoring from Underworld actually returns.
You see, my preference is putting combat on easy and everything else on hard. So I just didn't want any hints. I didn't want any white ledges. I just wanted to be able to just explore and enjoy it and just get through the combat as quickly as possible. So
it looked like even with the combat on easy though, you still take a fair bit of damage there.
Yeah, so, I think the main thing, with combat, it's more one-hit kills. And also auto-aim, you have that split second of having auto-aim when you aim at someone. So for me, that's the main thing, because I suck at aiming. So I need that.
The chasm here, did you notice if they applied more weight to her jumps, or does she feel more floaty?
It feels less auto-aimy now, so she's less magnetic. If you botch a jump, if you don't have it lined up properly before you actually press jump, she's likely going to miss it. I died a few times in the
I died on that bit
because of that. But what I really liked, and it seems to only be at set scripted bits, but the pull-up animation she had there after that really long jump, I wish they'd done something like that for all of the pull-up jumps rather than that little kind of toddler climbing up over a step that she does most of the time.
You know, it's actually kind of funny too. When I was watching the gameplay you guys recorded, it seemed like they actually tried to go back to how the classics were. Like when she jumps, she does the grunny noise instead of. It sounded like she's out of breath 24/7.
Yeah. Yes, it was that was the effort. Yeah, rather than just walking around and picking up stuff.
Now, see, this is the area I was worried about because all the fog effects. I was like, oh God, this is gonna kill the frame rate.
So Laurie and I both played it on PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
And certainly I thought it was very, very smooth. Most of the game consoles in the room were on Xbox though, so I don't know how it compares. One thing I just wanted to touch on something here with the skills trees. Annoyingly, there are a few skills in here which are related specifically to Survivor mode and things like that, and there's a lot of abilities which are connected, so you have to buy one ability to be able to get to the next one. So I'll be quite annoyed if there are some skills that are locked behind using survival mode, because, you know, I mean, Laurie and I, we both switched it off because we don't want any beacons or anything like that, but yeah, the game still forces you to invest in it to an extent.
Oh, I see salvage is back too.
This was quite a weird bit. Yeah, you find your makeshift machete and then you have to find 3 boxes of salvage in order to sharpen it. I don't know what's in those boxes and why one of them wouldn't do, but that felt a little bit video gamey for my liking. But
yeah, it was
a minor thing. You find them, you find them really quickly and then you can just move on.
I just wanted to add, because it was me that recorded the footage as well, so this is the footage that people are actually watching is PS4 Pro footage.
Can anyone hear me?
Woo.
Hello?
So does she you know, similar to Underworld, if she was like going through the bushes and stuff, she would actually react in real time to it. Does that still happen in this one, or is this like slow her down more? Or
You don't see her batting anything away, or at least I don't
No.
remember her brushing leaves away from herself when she was walking through the foliage or anything. I might be mistaken.
I mean, what I actually found as well, because yeah, I didn't really see her reacting to any of that sort of stuff. But when you have to crawl under something, I found that was actually quite delayed as well. Like there's a few times when I actually struggled to get like her to activate as in to crawl under something. So yeah, so it's like, yeah, her interaction with things isn't. It's probably because it needs a bit more polishing, but. Yeah, I found that sometimes, like, there's a bit where you just see me just, like, running side to side because I'm trying to figure out how to actually crawl under something.
now here's another thing, like when you're going against enemies and, you know, you see areas where like you could break a branch off, are those pop-ups the same as the other ones that you could disable, or?
No, unfortunately, well, if you can disable them, I didn't find any way of disabling them. So Laurie and I both had puzzling and traversal turned up to hard, and you still get those constant pop-ups saying, "Oh, this is a plant you can take. This is something you can shoot a rope arrow at, like this moment here." So there are still a lot of prompts on screen, including the press square if she's struggling to grab, although the window for you to actually press square. Basically, if you're not already pressing square when she starts to struggle, you're going to fall. So they've really restricted the amount of time of that on hard, which was great.
Yeah, I think with it, when it comes to the foliage stuff and when you're actually looking for things, I think because the environment is so lush and there's so much in it, I think you would really struggle to actually pick anything up, or you wouldn't think to pick things up if they didn't actually have those notifications there, to be honest. Not that I'm a massive fan of them, but it's just, I think that's to me why they would have kept them in.
There's only
So should we make like a bet? Should it take like 2 weeks before the fans mod them out?
Yeah.
And here's swimming. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah, I love the swimming.
So good.
It is fantastic. It's still like the whole thing of like press circle to dive and press X to come back up. But it just felt so much easier and, dare I say, fluid. And she's
so
just...
would you in a way compare it to like Legend swimming, or?
I can't even remember what Legend swimming was like, to be honest. I haven't played it in so long.
It just felt, when you were playing Legend or Anniversary, it felt very jerky, I felt, whereas it was, very, like Laurie said, it was very, very fluid, it was very smooth. I did just want to touch on something here with the combat, actually. I mean, the combat in this game has very much been built so that you can take down human enemies. It's still quite ropey when it comes to animals.
Yeah.
You've got very few options. You can't melee them. All you can do is shoot at them till they run away and keep peppering it with arrows. So it's a bit...
I gotta say too, when I was watching your guys' footage for this, I know it's supposed to be like an intense moment, but I couldn't help but laugh every time Laura would hit the animal, because it would make this weird cringy sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so high pitched. I'm like, this is supposed to be serious. Come on.
But no, I don't know if you found this, Matt. I don't know if it's just because I'm crap with combat, but I found that I couldn't dodge when I was trying to kill the jaguar.
Yeah, I was pressing circle when I thought it was going to attack me, and of course she would scramble rather than roll, and I would get hit while I was scrambling, which is really annoying. There doesn't seem to be a big enough invincibility frame, a number of invincibility frames on it for my liking, especially since they're quite unpredictable. You don't know exactly when they're going to attack you, which it sounds like that would be great, unpredictable combat, but it just gets frustrating because you've got so many options when you're trying to take down humans, and when you're against an animal, you really don't have that many options at all. It feels, it's like if you play Horizon Zero Dawn, for example, and it's really built so that you can dodge things at speed and so on, whereas Lara really isn't built for that at all. She's built to just stand and fight. And that's not what you're encouraged to do when you're playing.
With me and Matt just replaying Underworld, we were playing Thailand, and we got to the tigers or whatever it was, and it kind of felt literally the same as that, because no matter what you do dodge-wise, you ain't getting away from these animals. They're gonna knock you down and keep doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I thought by now it would have, been fixed, but...
Oh, this bit I have to say, guys, it took me so long to actually work out how to get a flaming arrow. I was sitting there for ages like, what the hell am I doing? Why is she just firing, like, just plain arrows at this thing?
I did love how Jonah is just stood there right
Yeah,
in
it was
front of the
just
thing
like,
that's going to burn as well.
anytime now, Lara. Just, this is getting awkward now. Just sort yourself out. And then another plain arrow again.
Oh, that's something to mention too. It looks like they changed the UI, so when you click up now, whatever you're on is actually highlighted in yellow.
Yeah, I think that was what I just couldn't get to grips with, how you were actually supposed to change things. So yeah, I was kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing. Someone help me. So that's why it's good that you don't have actually my audio, because there was a lot of swear words at this point. Someone help me, for God's sake!
Well, see, that's how you know it's a Tomb Raider game.
Yeah.
The swearing is back.
Oh God, yeah.
Now, if you would compare this to Reboot, because I know, like, Reboot, Rise, there was, like, random places you could pick up plants and other useless things, like, to, you know, add, like, 10, 15 XP. Is that still here?
Yeah, that was one annoyance I had. I mean, I was very critical of this in Rise as well. The fact that I don't like these pop-ups and splashes when they come on screen. I feel it pulls me out. So every time it was telling me, oh, you've got 20 XP for picking up this plant or whatever it was, or oh, you've now got a skills point, there's a tomb nearby. All of that still happens. You can see here with the Archivist map as well. It's a little bit irritating. I do feel that it was a bit more subtle than it was in the last couple of games, but I still wish you could tailor that out. I really do.
It's just one of those things that you're just picking things up for the sake of just picking things up. You're not actually given any sort of reward or sort of knowledge in terms of what to actually do. I mean, it says on the side what you're picking up, but I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm not really interested. I just want to keep exploring. So you're just picking up random plants that are supposed to enhance, I think, certain aspects of Lara's.
Okay, now see, one of my biggest gripes when it came to Rise of the Tomb Raider was, sure, the environments were, you know, they were huge, but there really wasn't much to do, and the environments didn't really feel alive. How would you compare that, Matt, to, you know, this game here? Does the environments actually feel more alive? Do you feel like, you know, there's more to do in these environments, or is it just big for the sake of being big again?
Oh no, I mean this really felt detailed, and there was stuff to do and see and explore, so you can explore in the canopy, in the trees. I didn't actually get as far through the demo as Laurie did, because I kept backtracking, and I missed one of the tombs from this section. I think I completed 3 or 4. So it was a huge living area. There's the big pool area that you saw. There's an area with a crash site, and there's just so much. There felt like there was so much going on here before you've even got to the hub with the little village. So it was huge, but it felt detailed.
I mean, the team, we did actually record it, but obviously we had to cut it out for spoiler reasons. And the team that I actually got to play was absolutely fantastic. I mean, I think Matt did the same team that I did as well. And it was just absolutely stunning. And this bit actually now is when you're entering the tomb.
Yeah.
And there's just so much to it, but it's just the eeriness and the fact that you feel so isolated, but you know there's actually people there. Like you see, like in the corner of your eye, there's someone like jumping around in the background, like trying to kill Lara by like making you fall off a ledge and things like that. So it's the teams felt a lot more rewarding.
Did you guys actually get to test out the co-op tombs? Because I remember them saying apparently there was supposed to be, I can't remember if it was 2 players or 4 players, but apparently they were going to be adding in like co-op tombs.
There was none of that on display at all.
Yeah,
it was just a single player.
Okay. And how would you compare the tombs to, like, say, Shadow, or not Shadow, but the Reboot and Rise? Because, you know, Reboot, for me, the biggest gripe I had with that is the tombs were there just for the sake of it. They weren't really challenging. And another thing that bugged me is, like, when you come into a tomb area, she stops. You, like, lose full control over her. You cannot run. She just does this walkie animation.
Well, I mean, there's, like, the tomb I was just talking about. Like, she does walk into it when you see it, but it's purely for the visual factor. because it looked absolutely stunning. It looked really, really beautiful. But yeah, you have the puzzle bit, but it is definitely a lot more rewarding. I would say in terms of, I can't remember what they said exactly when we were talking to the devs, but they were definitely saying rather than just you finding something at the end of it and you not knowing what it is, because she just picks it up, doesn't she, normally in the challenge teams. But this time you actually get, like, I'm going to say XP, but you'll get something to add to her skill set and different things like that. So you actually get a lot more from doing the teams than you would from, again, I've not played Rise, so I don't know what they did with Rise, but from the reboot, you get a lot more than what you did in the reboot. So it's like, in the reboot, you didn't have a reason to do the tomb unless you actually wanted to do the tomb. In this, you actually have a reason to do it.
I mean, I think they referred to them as, I've got the word accolade in my head. I might have it
like
wrong,
that,
but
yeah.
when you complete one of the teams, you tend to get something that you can customize Lara with, and that will then
something like
affect her
costumes
abilities. Yeah, costumes.
Yeah.
So I mean, it looked a little bit hokey actually. One of the ones I got, and she ended up getting these leopard skin leg warmers, for example, which
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what they did, but they improved something. So it's those little perks that. But to be fair, the puzzles in the tombs that I played, they were so enjoyable. I was doing them just for the sake of the puzzling, quite
And because
honestly.
you have
So, and then I didn't end up wearing the leg warmers because I thought
No.
they looked a little silly. So, but it was just fun doing the puzzles. They were huge. They were really, really technical in places. I wouldn't say they were overly difficult. There were a few that had me stumped for a bit, but they were head scratchers, you know. So it was nice to actually just puzzle them out.
Yeah, and also because you have puzzle switch to hard as well, you don't have Lara talking in your ear constantly saying, I need to do this and do this. So
Yeah.
you do just sit there for like 5-10 minutes figuring out how you're going to do it yourself. So that's a great thing about the teams now as well. They're actually more challenging. Or they can be as challenging as you like.
Welcome improvement.
Definitely.
Because I know, like, Rise of the Tomb Raider, obviously you didn't play Lori, but when you would finish a tomb in Rise of the Tomb Raider, they would give you, what was it, Codex Mat?
Yeah, it was like a little book you opened it and did something.
It basically gave you it basically gave you skills to make the game easier. Like I think one of them was you can fire 3 arrows at the same time, which I never figured out how to do. I still can't do it.
We're almost there. All access points are covered.
Yeah, so I didn't actually get this far in the demo. I don't know, the diamond icon over their heads when they notice you. I mean, who
Felt
started
very
using that
Assassin's
first? Because
Creed.
Uncharted uses the exact same thing.
Yeah, to me it felt very
Yeah,
Assassin's
with
Creed.
Assassin's Creed.
Oh, of course, yeah, okay. So it must just
Yeah.
be industry standard now, but I did when I saw it, I thought, hang on a minute.
Then I
Well,
think it
didn't
was
they
probably
use something
Uncharted,
similar to
maybe used
that?
it after that. Oh, I said it again, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't Uncharted: The Lost Legacy use it as well?
Yeah, it was definitely an Uncharted 4 too.
But,
I mean, it's becoming a common thing.
yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I want to turn all these off, like this little skill pop-up that keeps popping up. I'm like, get off my screen.
Yeah, I'm hoping they add more customization later on, because certainly the customizable difficulty is fantastic, but I feel they could have gone a little bit further with some of these.
I mean, I know it's not going to be, a game breaker for most people, but for me, when I see button prompts like, the XP that just popped up,
Yeah.
and then, the button presses, it just kills the immersion for me. Resident Evil 2 Remake is doing the same thing, and I'm like, stop holding me by the hand.
But no, I mean, this part, it actually felt quite satisfying, I think, because I had it set to easy. It literally was just one-shot kill for everything. So, so again, it just meant you could just fly through the combat, or pretty much fly through the combat. I'm still crap at it, so I still struggled at some point. But yeah, it just meant you could just fly through the combat and then just get on with the story. And to me, that is what I really wanted from it, because I would always come to like a combat section and just be like, oh, this again, and just it would sort of put me off actually playing the game or getting on with the game, and just thinking, oh, I'll come back to this later. But at this point, it did actually feel quite, like I said, quite satisfying to be able to do auto aim and a one-shot kill, So
Okay, so speaking of that, obviously we can't go into specifics because of spoilers, but how would you guys compare the story so far from what you played, like writing-wise, compared to the other ones? Is it better?
I think it's
still
better.
seems, yeah, I mean, it still seems a little bit by the numbers, but it seems a bit more compelling. I don't know, it just,
Yeah.
I mean, certainly the interplay between Lara and Jonah is great. I really enjoyed that. The villain seems to be genuinely interesting.
Yeah.
I can't, I can imagine where the story's going to go. I don't think it's going to be particularly groundbreaking. I'd be surprised if there's a massive twist and it throws everybody off, but it's serviceable, I would say, from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it feels a lot more grounded, and like it just has a different feel, I think, to the reboot in terms of. Yeah, I mean, the reboot tried to be dark, but it still felt just like an action game. This actually feels like there's something a bit more sinister to the whole thing. Yeah, and I just think the writing, like Matt said, like with the conversations you have with Lara and Jonah, they just feel a bit more natural. And like they were, like you have just sort of just walked in on a conversation that they're having, sort of thing. It's not like they're just reading from a script, so to speak. I don't know, there's just something about it. It just feels a lot more natural and a lot more grounded to me.
Yeah, and on that note as well, because I know we're not alone in being a bit critical of Camilla's accent and things like that, but there are parts of the performance where it feels a bit off the cuff, and her accent is actually passable. And then there are bits which you can clearly tell are scripted, and it seems that it's when she's been told, okay, you have to read this bit because Lara has walked onto this scene, and it's those situations where it feels a lot less natural and her accent slips. So I wonder if at various points in the performance she was just allowed to relax, and that actually came through in the performance, but unfortunately it's not there for the entire thing.
Definitely. It's kind of like the whole thing of, obviously, when she's reading from the script, she concentrates on her accent more, so it feels more put on.
Okay, so this is a question more so for Matt, because obviously, Laura, you didn't play Rise. I just seen a triangle button popped up, you know, against this one guy you were walking by. Does that mean optional conversations and optional missions are back?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, so you can basically store up missions here. They will send you off to various places in this massive hub, and yeah, it's all completely optional. Like this that Laurie was coming on here in this massive temple. I believe this was an optional section that I didn't actually get to do.
I think this part is actually part of the story. This temple.
Oh, is it? Ah.
Yeah, but I think what you have with the hubs, they have different bits in there. So they all have a massive temple, and they all have all like different bits in there. So so like you've got Paititi, which is going to be the biggest hub. I can't remember the name of this town, but that town is another smaller hub. So yeah, so it's kind of like just a break in the action, I think, as they said it. So so you get to sort of do things where you can gain XP, you can get paid, you can just get different costumes and like different things like that. So so that's kind of what the hubs are set up for. But that particular temple, because I just walked straight through the hub, I was like, I want to try and get as much footage and as much story as possible. So so I'll just keep going. I just won't stop and talk to anyone. I'm just going to go straight to the next temple, which is what that led on to. And yeah, that was actually, I'm pretty sure that was the next part of the story, to be honest.
What else could... I seen the knife is actually upgradable. You know, is there anything you guys can tell us about, you know, what else we could use it? Obviously, we could use it for stealth, like can you use it in the environment, or...
I don't think we really got a chance to be able to use it in anything. I mean, I didn't even really use it in... I think I used it in combat once when I run out of arrows. So I just snuck up on someone and just stabbed them like a million times. Other than that, but again, that was like an automatic sequence. It's not as if I was just like mashing a button to stab someone. It was just sort of automatic stealth kill. But instead of using her axe, she actually used the machete. But yeah, other than that, we didn't really get to see... Well, I didn't see what else you could really use it for, other than, yeah, to cut those ropes to get her gear down.
The mud and quicksand are back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when I went back to this section, actually, when I was backtracking, I don't think you can die in it. Yeah, because I did get stuck in it for a little while. But It did surprise me. It did actually scare me a little bit at first because I thought, oh god, I am actually going to die, and that is a rare feeling for me in the new Tomb Raider games, where I was
He was
actually
getting some Tomb Raider 3 PTSD
yeah. I
Yeah.
basically I was scared that she was going to die, which I've not cared about this character in a very long time. So it's definitely it's won me over. And I know there's still a lot of people that feel quite skeptical about it, and I can understand that, but this is the most fun with a Tomb Raider game I've had since probably the last Revelation. As much as I loved Angel of Darkness, it was very flawed, and I didn't love it all the way through. The few hours that we spent playing this, yeah, it's convinced me that this is going to be a great Tomb Raider game. I just hope that what we've played isn't just the best section of the game and then it peters out after that, because there's always that danger, that they've just thrown all the good stuff at the beginning, and then the end is just the endless gauntlet where you're killing deathless people. If we get that again,
Yeah.
I'll be quite annoyed. But
Yeah, that's one thing. That's one thing I actually don't want to see happen, because Rise of the Tomb Raider, the ending just felt like copy and paste from the reboot,
yeah,
and there were so many sections actually from that were taken from reboot, just reskinned. Same environment, same layout. I don't want to see that happen again.
but
Yeah.
Eidos Montreal seem to have taken a lot of care and attention here with the IP. I've been really pleasantly surprised. The people that we've spoken to at Square Enix you can tell that they've got a passion for this. Yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to September. I really can't express that enough. I think this might. Well, it's one of those. I don't know if it'll right all the wrongs of the reboot trilogy. I still don't quite appreciate the direction they went in with Lara's character and the focus on her family and so on. But gameplay wise, this is doing a lot of things right that they really should have been doing since probably Anniversary, quite honestly.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. And yeah, I'm so looking forward to actually just getting my claws into just playing this game properly, and like, because obviously when I was playing through, I was just trying to get as much footage as I could and get as far into it as I could. So I couldn't enjoy it as much as I probably could. But what I did play, I did really, really enjoy. But I just can't wait to be able to just take my time with it and just explore every little nook and cranny that I can find, and try out all these tombs and die millions of times because I just didn't grab at the right moment and things like that. So yeah, I think for me, I mean, because I'm replaying the classics at the moment, and I'm up to Tomb Raider 3. To me, I think, yeah, going back, I think it's probably, yeah, up to like Angel of Darkness. I think I'd have to ignore Legend, Anniversary, Underworld, because I just didn't get on with those games at all. I thought they were too cartoony for me. This, I think, this is the game that we should have had at the start of the reboot, to me, because it just feels like a Tomb Raider game. It feels like how a modern Tomb Raider game should feel, minus
Oh,
the
you
daddy
guys are giving me
storyline.
hope.
But but with Shadow, I actually feel that a lot of Tomb Raider fans would miss out if they didn't play this, because there are a lot of. It's not as if you're playing a classic game, but I think there's a lot of things that classic fans would appreciate.
One of my biggest gripes with Reboot and Rise was the music. It felt monotone and not very memorable. From what you guys got to play out of this, were there any like standout tracks or?
For me, definitely, it was that tomb. The soundtrack when you went into that tomb, it was just so creepy, and it was really minimalistic, and yeah, it just really added to the atmosphere, and to me, like, that really stood out for me. So I don't know what you thought, Matt, but
Yeah, I totally agree. I was creeped out in that place. I mean, I was initially quite concerned when the announcement had been made, oh, you're not always going to be alone in these tombs. I thought, oh, that means we're going to have a helper or something in there, but it's the opposite, and you can really feel the malevolent presence of these people in some of these tombs, and the soundtrack acts to emphasize that. You feel constantly on edge. You don't know if you're going to get caught in a trap or if someone's going to push some spiky boulder off a cliff at you. It's all it's all part of the experience. Without the soundtrack there, I don't think
yeah.
it'd be anywhere near as effective.
Because you know what it reminds me of? Sorry to interrupt, but you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, you know, when, like, say when you're playing Tomb Raider 1 and you're in the cave, like the first level in the cave, and that really minimalistic, it's just atmosphere.
Yeah, it's just like ambience.
Yeah,
exactly.
That is basically what it's like. So it's not sort of all like violins and drums and all that sort of thing. It's just really minimalistic and just adding to this to the situation that you're in, which to me it was just perfect. It was fantastic. It's definitely one of the highlights. That tomb was the highlight of my playthrough, to be honest.
Oh, you guys are hyping me. I need it. And that's all we got time for today. Don't forget to follow our social media channels if you want to keep up to date with all the latest Tomb Raider news. All the links are in the description below. Happy raiding!